We're excited today to talk to you a little bit about how money flows in your business and what you need to be doing to just make sure that you have things siloed and taken care of properly. I know a lot of people their whole life, they've had a W-2 wage, you get a paycheck from the boss, goes to the bank, direct deposit it, and I don't have to worry about it. But now all of a sudden, we're business owners and we've got to act like it. Things are a little bit different. We might even be taking a wage from the business. But I want you to just talk to us a little bit about that flow of money. You know, these businesses are the vehicles that we're using, and there's business expenses, but I've still got to pay my bills. I've still got my mortgage. I've still got things that I'm doing for myself. Help us understand the things that we need to be aware of and we need to be looking at as we think through the money movement between our personal lives and our business lives.
Okay, so what I've found is people tend to be creatures of habit, right? So if I've always had a W-2, that W-2 basically gets deposited in my personal bank account, and then I pay for all my personal expenses or whatever it is that I need money for. And life goes on, this kind of routine of money goes in, money goes out, and I don't really have to think about it. Once it's set up, I don't think about it. The problem is once I become a business, sometimes people continue not to think about it. They just say, okay, I'm going to go provide a service, people are going to pay me, I'm just going to put that back in my checking account because that's the only account I have. If I have some expenses, I'll just pay it out of that checking account. Again, only checking account that I have because it's simple for me and it's easy and I'm used to it. Problem is that isn't always the best scenario for you. And I would say most of the time usually, it's not the best scenario for you. So when I go into business, I really need to say, okay, if I'm going to be in business, I need to act like it, I need to separate it. I need to 100% separate my personal from my business, which means I need to go set up a business bank account as soon as I decide I want to go in business, even before I have had one payment to me or earned $1 of revenue. I need to go set up that business bank account. I also need to consider, and I would strongly consider, setting up some type of entity or vehicle in which to operate that business out of. Then that business, so let's say I set up an LLC, that LLC would then own a bank account, for example. But I really need to look at a hard separation between what is my personal money, what is my personal finances versus what is the business's.
So I have this separation, right? But I'm a business owner, and if my business is going well and I'm fortunate enough that I'm not having to have another job, I've still got my personal expenses I need to pay for.
Right.
And I know there's lots of different things that go into making these types of decisions, but what do I need to be looking at and how do I get that money into my personal hands so that I can spend it and do the things I want to do?
So this is where it becomes critical to sit down with someone like me, for example, a CPA, to understand how the flow of that money happens. Because it is really dependent on the vehicle that I establish to operate my business out of.
C Corp, S Corp,
C Corp,
LLC.
S Corp, LLC, they all work differently. And how I move money from that company to me is different. For example, if I'm an LLC, it's just a distribution. I can just move money from one account to another. If it's an S Corp, I need wages, so I need to do wages, and I can move money from one account to another. If it's C Corp, it's coming through wages or maybe dividends. So it really becomes critical that you understand the vehicle that you're using, sit down with someone like me and say, okay, how am I going to move money from this business to my personal account where then I can spend it on my personal needs?
And why is that important? You know, that might sound like a dumb question, but I think there's a lot of people that might not even realize why that's important to make sure that's done appropriately and not realizing the ramifications of doing it incorrectly down the road. Why does it matter that I actually do it right?
So it matters, one is tracking. I want to be able to track the movement of money. I want to know what is actually revenue to the business or what is just simply a distribution to myself for what I've earned. I want to know what are my actual expenses that I've been paying, for example. So if I have that separate bank account, I'd say what is the money going in, what is the money going out, making sure it's all attributed to my business, and then move that money back over. So I just think the separation becomes really critical from a reporting standpoint, from making financial decisions, to understanding how my business is doing, to what I contribute to my retirement plans and how I pay for health insurance and all those things. The separation is, I would say, required for all of it.
Yeah. And as you look at that, it sounds like you're saying a lot of these kinds of decisions start even before the business starts. There are, and we could do a whole segment on this, S Corp, C Corp, LLC, but I need to be making decisions ahead of time to understand what am I wanting to do with my money, how am I wanting it to flow. There's some decisions and some foresight that if taken ahead of time help me determine how money's going to flow in my business.
Yeah,
moving
so
forward.
I like to, let me give you a little example on this. So we're in Utah, okay, it's tax season, right? Winter time, essentially. Snowed, I mean, it really
Yeah, it
snowed
was-
and came down
yeah.
yesterday. Okay, so let's say I'm a visitor and I'm flying into Utah yesterday, amidst this enormous snowstorm. I get to the airport and I say, you know what, I gotta go up to Park City, which is up the mountain to a mountain city from the airport, about 40 miles, and I gotta figure out which car is gonna get me best from Salt Lake City to Park City, right? So if I go in and say, you know what, I want a Mustang. Do you think that Mustang's gonna go in 6 inches of snow up the canyon? It's not. So you have to say, you know what, it's probably best if I get a 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
In order for me to go and get to where I want to go, I need to have the proper vehicle.
Yeah.
So the same thing holds true when it comes to business. In order for me to get to where I want to go in my business, it's the proper vehicle that gets me there, and that's what I need to consider at the very beginning. Where am I going and what vehicle is going to get me there?
Those are the kind of conversations you're having all the
Exactly,
time, right?
all the time.
You know, at the end of the day, I think it boils down to this. If we want to be in business, we need to act like it. So often we see people who want to play business but not really act like it. And a little bit of planning really goes a long way in being successful and making sure that those dollars come in and you're able to use them for the things you want to use them for. We know how important it is for you to keep your business running smoothly. Here at Tax Hive, we can help with all of your tax and business service needs so you can focus in on what it is that you do best. Our entire team of experts is standing by, ready to help out. Schedule a strategy session with one of our experts today.